We'll start out here looking at what we've had so far this year since January. Image on the left is the departure from normal temperature for the first 3 months of the year. And you can see that for the Missouri Basin, from Sioux City on up, it hasn't really been anything overly out of the normal when it's averaged out over that 3-month period. Everything's been within about 2 degrees of normal. The exception is when you get up into Montana. We've got some areas that are 4 to as much as 6 to 8 degrees above normal, which is quite a bit when you're talking about a 3-month period. So it's been very warm up in Montana. Rest of the basin pretty much near normal. Picture on the right here is the one that's telling the real story that we've been looking at really for the last 2 years now. You can see that the first 3 months of this year, all of the red areas are below 50% of normal precipitation for the first 3 months. And you can see that pretty much the entire basin from Nebraska all the way up through the Dakotas and into eastern Montana have been running pretty much 50% or less of normal precipitation. Obviously everybody that's around here knows that it's been continued dry so far this year. Looking ahead, image on the left is for the next 3 months, April, May, and June. Temperature-wise, you see that the northern parts of the basin, you get up in Montana, we're looking at equal chances for above normal, normal, or below normal temperatures, up into the Rockies, and might be a little bit of an increased probability of seeing below normal temperatures for the next 3 months. But then when you get to the southern part of the basin, from southern South Dakota on down, we're looking at increased chances of continuing above normal temperatures for the next 3 months. Precipitation outlook for the same period, April, May, and June. No real strong signals right now for that time period. You see a lot of the white equal chances. Basically, I'm a weather guy. I'm not afraid to tell you that means we don't know. We don't have anything to really focus on as far as any long-term climate signals right now that would point us towards being wetter or drier. Until you get, except maybe western Nebraska and down into the southern plains, pretty strong signals with the La Nina that's continuing right now of seeing below normal precipitation down there. But so best guess right now, consider the next 3 months to be near normal for planning purposes. When we go into the summer, early fall, July through September, again, we're looking at above normal temperatures being the most likely scenario for the summer into the early fall. Precipitation-wise, not what we really want to see with what we've seen the last 2 years. Pretty strong signal, particularly in July and August right now, of being below normal precipitation for the summer. So no real chance of easing those drought conditions based on what we're seeing right now. Speaking of the drought conditions, this is the latest map as of last week from the U.S. Drought Monitor, and it shows the Missouri Basin there. Again, the worst conditions that we're seeing are up in Montana. A lot of D3, which is extreme drought up there. 70, what are we at now? 77, almost 78% of the Missouri Basin is in D1 or worse at this moment. That would be anything in the tan, orange, and red on that map there. We are seeing that D3 area in central Nebraska is probably going to be expanding a little bit based on the lack of precipitation the last couple of weeks. So that's an area we're really looking at for maybe worsening drought conditions. Possibly with the big snowstorm that's happening up in North Dakota, northern South Dakota, we might be able to show a little bit of improvement in the next couple weeks depending on what happens there, but we'll have to wait and see. The longer term drought outlook on the right through the end of June is basically saying that based on what we're looking at, drought conditions are likely to persist. Not showing any real signs of improvement anywhere on the long term, at least through the early part of summer. The flood potential outlook obviously is going to be pretty low as we sit right now. This was the outlook as of April 1st. I see that on the map there. The green dots are all of the river forecast points that have a less than 50% chance of even reaching minor flooding over the next 3 months. We do see some spots down in Kansas into Missouri where we've had some flooding on some of the tributaries down there for some rains that did have 50% chance of minor flooding in the orange and 50% chance of moderate flooding in the red. A couple spots on the James River upstream of Sioux City here. Up in northern South Dakota, we did have some brief minor flooding up there around the Aberdeen area. I don't think it's hit moderate yet, but that's there. And a couple sites on the upper Big Sioux River. Again, we had a few days where we did have some minor flooding there as a little bit better snowpack had built up in that area, and that melted off. So we saw a couple days of some minor flooding up there south of Watertown, north of Brookings. The mountain snowpack up in the northern Rockies has been below average this winter. Plain snowpack was non-existent for the most part until today. Up in North Dakota with the big blizzards happening right now. The soils are very dry except for the eastern edges, the upper Big Sioux Basin up into eastern North Dakota, the upper James Basin. Soils have been doing a little better up there. They've got some better precipitation last fall and through the winter. And the main thing that we're looking at is going to be thunderstorm activity as we get into the warmer weather here, hopefully in the next couple months. The southern portion, again, that's mainly what's going to be driving any flooding there, but even for the James Big Sioux upstream of Sioux City here, it's going to take several rounds of thunderstorms to get us enough water flowing that we have a whole lot of concern there. The outlook, again, right now we are in our second winter, coming out of our second winter of La Nina, and we are expecting that La Nina to transition probably to what we call ENSO neutral, not an El Nino or La Nina, kind of neutral conditions out in the Pacific Ocean. For next fall into the winter, right now, best guess is going to be that ENSO neutral, but it's possible we could see a return to La Nina conditions as we start getting towards next winter. Warm and dry, again, as we said, for the next several months. The drought's going to persist. The flood outlook, lower than normal chances across pretty much the entire Missouri Basin. And any flood potential that we do have is pretty much in that southeastern part and Kansas into Missouri. If you want to sit in on one of the North Central Climate Summary calls, those are held every month, I believe. And the next one is next week, next Thursday. The address is there if you would like to sit in and you get some of the climate people talking about the outlooks, as well as some of the ag people talking about soil moisture and current conditions, things like that. A lot of the drought discussions go on those calls. So if you're interested in hearing what's happening and how things are developing there, I encourage you to sit in on one of those climate calls. So that is what I have. Thank you very much.